On a warm summer evening in July 2019, a 25-year-old young father walked away after a family argument in a small Nebraska town and was never seen again. His name was Chance Engelbert, and what happened to him remains one of the most haunting mysteries of the Midwest. It was July 6, 2019. Chance and his wife were visiting her family in Gering, Nebraska. At some point during the evening, an argument broke out. Upset and frustrated, Chance decided to leave the house on foot. He told no one where he was going. Surveillance cameras later showed Chance walking through town. At first, it seemed like just a short walk to cool off, but the weather quickly turned dangerous. A severe thunderstorm moved in, bringing lightning, heavy rain, and flash flooding. While walking, Chance called several family members and friends, asking for a ride. Unfortunately, no one was able to pick him up that night. Each call showed his increasing need to get out of the storm, but his last known location would soon raise even more questions. Chance's phone pinged near a truck stop in Scottsbluff, Nebraska, not far from Gering. And then, silence. No more calls, no more texts, no more signals. It was as if Chance had vanished into thin air. Not long after, a convenience store clerk in Scottsbluff claimed to have seen Chance inside the store. The clerk remembered a tense exchange between Chance and another man. Around the same time, two women were reportedly seen running nearby in distress, though no connection to Chance was ever proven. These accounts deepened the mystery. Was Chance truly alone that night, or not? The disappearance sparked a massive search effort. Over 147 people joined in. Ground teams covered more than 2,400 acres. Aircraft searched over 380 miles. Search dogs were deployed, and even nearby water sources were drained. Despite this enormous effort, no trace of Chance was found. The case devastated Chance's family. His wife, his newborn child, his parents, and his friends were left with nothing but questions. The community rallied together, offering time, resources, and endless prayers. To this day, his family has never stopped pursuing leads and holding on to hope. Years have passed, but the mystery remains. What really happened that stormy night in Nebraska? Did Chance encounter foul play? Did the storm itself play a role? Or is there another truth waiting to be uncovered? What we do know is this: a young husband, a new father, a man with his whole life ahead of him, walked into the night and was never seen again. And until answers are found, the story of Chance Engelbert will remain one of the Midwest's greatest unsolved mysteries. On the evening of June 9, 2023, a 27-year-old woman named Autumn Shagan left her family home in Barrie, Ontario. No one realized it at the time, but that would be the very last time her loved ones ever saw her. The next morning, June 10th, between 10 a.m. and noon, Autumn appeared on a security camera near Ann Street, close to Sunnydale Park. She was walking with a male friend, carrying skis as they headed toward the Barrie waterfront to watch an air show. It was a sunny day. Everything seemed normal. But what happened next has left investigators, her family, and her community haunted ever since.
It's been downright agonizing for the family of Autumn Shagan. She left the family home on June 9th and was last heard from on June 10th. Since then, it's been radio silence, and that's left her loved ones feeling fearful for her safety.
We hope that she's safe right now and she makes it home to us, because we don't know what we're gonna do if she doesn't make it home, you know?
It's a thought they simply can't bear.
Autumn is one of the sweetest people. She's the funniest people you're ever gonna meet. And we need her home, pretty much.
She's never gone a day without texting me when she leaves.
As the two walked down the street, Autumn trailed just behind her friend. He glanced back, expecting to see her right there. But in an instant, she was gone. No cry for help, no sound at all. One moment she was there, the next she had simply vanished. The camera showed nothing unusual either. No car pulled up. No stranger appeared. It was as if Autumn had stepped out of reality itself. When her sister Lily tried to text her later that day, the message didn't go through. Soon, it became clear something was very wrong. 2 days later, Autumn was officially reported missing. Suspicion quickly turned toward the man she was last seen with, someone she had only known for about 2 weeks. But police interviewed him several times, found nothing unusual, and he stayed in close contact with her family, even offering help. Investigators then uncovered another clue. Before disappearing, Autumn had been on the phone for over an hour with an unknown person. Whoever that caller was, they've never been identified. Even more unsettling, her phone was switched off the very day she vanished, just 3 minutes after she had texted her sister.
She was messaging someone early Saturday morning saying that she was at this address. She didn't give a house number or anything, but she gave a street name. Yeah. And around the same time, she did text me to come pick her up.
But by the time Lillian Moore responded, she says her sister's phone had been shut off. They also came across a couple of short videos she had saved on Snapchat.
We have a snap of her with another person at a house, unknown location.
As weeks turned into months and months into years, the unanswered questions only grew. On June 10th, 2025, her family marked the 2-year anniversary of her disappearance. To this day, the case of Autumn Shagan remains unsolved. Her final moments caught on camera, walking down a street in broad daylight, continue to raise one chilling question. How does someone simply disappear into thin air? On Sunday, March 27, 2004, a 21-year-old mother and her 2-year-old daughter vanished without a trace from Robertson County, Tennessee. Their names were Jennifer Wicks and her little girl, Adriana. To this day, what happened to them remains one of the most chilling and heartbreaking mysteries in Tennessee's history. At the time, Jennifer and Adriana were living with Jennifer's boyfriend, Joey Benton, and his family. Joey was not Adriana's father, but he was the last known person to see the young mother and daughter alive. From the very beginning, Joey's story raised questions. His first version was that he drove Jennifer and Adriana to a gas station. According to him, Jennifer told him to leave her there. He claimed he parked nearby, waited for about 7 minutes, and then saw Jennifer and Adriana climb into a 4-door van. But later, Joey changed his story. Now he claimed it wasn't a van. It was a 4-door Mustang. There was just one problem. Such a car doesn't exist. When police pressed him, Joey's father stepped in, insisting Joey would never say such a thing, because he was a Mustang enthusiast and even owned 2 Mustangs himself. Still, the original officer's notes recorded Joey's statement, though strangely, that officer was later fired. Joey then changed his story yet again. First, he said it was a white Mustang. Then, he suggested it could have been some other vehicle entirely. Each version made his story harder to believe. Joey also claimed that the day after the supposed gas station drop-off, Jennifer came back to his home to collect belongings. According to him, she said she wasn't upset with him, but with her mother. He even claimed Jennifer said her mother had threatened to take Adriana away. Jennifer's mother, Kathy, strongly denied this. Yes, she had concerns about Jennifer's living situation, but she swore she would never threaten to take her granddaughter. Kathy became frustrated with what she described as an indifferent police response. Officers told her Jennifer was an adult, free to go wherever she pleased, and suggested she would turn up on her own. But Kathy didn't accept that. She began distributing flyers for missing persons everywhere she could. At one local gas station, she was told it was against policy to display them. 2 to 3 weeks after Jennifer and Adriana disappeared, Joey suddenly delivered 6 black trash bags of their belongings to Kathy. Inside was Adriana's pink coat. This detail deeply disturbed Kathy. March nights in Tennessee can be cold, and she knew Jennifer would never take Adriana out without her coat, unless she never planned on being gone long. Nearly a decade passed with no answers. Then, in 2013, Robertson County's new sheriff, Bill Holt, vowed to bring fresh attention to the case. That same year, the investigation was officially reclassified from a missing persons case to a homicide investigation. Kathy was never fully told why the case was changed. However, investigators confirmed that the Benton property had been searched 4 times, including draining a pond, although no evidence was found. They also stated that no one, including Joey Benton, had ever been ruled out as a suspect. Adding to Kathy's heartache, she began to suspect that her own nephew, a close friend of Joey's at the time, might know more than he admitted. Since the case was reclassified, her nephew and her sister have refused to speak to her. Reports even say her nephew has been uncooperative with investigators. Now, more than 20 years later, Jennifer and Adriana's fate is still unknown. The shifting stories, unanswered questions, and strange circumstances have left a permanent ache in the hearts of those who loved them. For Kathy, the pain never fades. She continues her search for answers and for justice. What happened on that March day in 2004? Did Jennifer and Adriana leave voluntarily? Or did someone ensure they never came back? What we do know is this: a young mother, her little girl, 2 lives, gone without a trace. It was a quiet winter night in Fayetteville, Georgia. The date was January 7th, 2024. 16-year-old Heidi Kane had just told her mom she was going to bed. Nothing unusual, nothing alarming. Her mother, Sydney Fife, thought it was just another typical evening. Earlier that night, they'd talked about some of Heidi's recent life choices. It wasn't an argument. There was no shouting, no tension. Just a heartfelt conversation between a mother and her daughter. So when Heidi said she was heading to bed shortly before midnight, Sydney assumed the night had come to a peaceful close. But just 20 minutes later, everything changed. Sydney heard yelling. Heidi's voice, sharp, emotional, echoing from another room. She was on her MacBook, clearly in a heated exchange. Her words were urgent, frustrated, intense, and then silence. Moments later, Sydney realized something was very wrong. Heidi had taken her mother's car keys and was trying to leave the house. Panic set in. Sydney rushed outside and found Heidi already in the car, ready to drive away. She managed to grab the keys before Heidi could leave. That should have been the end of it. But it wasn't. Heidi didn't argue. She didn't explain. She just jumped out of the car and ran. No shoes, just a pair of pajamas, a sweatshirt, no phone, no wallet, no idea where she was going. And from that moment on, Heidi Kane vanished without a trace. Heidi is 5 feet 1 inch tall. She weighs about 130 pounds. She has blue eyes, and at the time of her disappearance, her hair was believed to be dyed black. She left behind everything: her phone, her wallet, her entire digital footprint, wiped clean. It's suspected that Heidi may have been going through a mental health crisis that night, which only makes her sudden disappearance even more concerning. Fayetteville police launched an immediate investigation. Officers canvassed the area. They followed every lead, searched nearby woods, drones, K9 units, volunteers. But as days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, still no sign of Heidi. The only clue, that strange moment during her video call, when Heidi's voice rose in panic, when she seemed overwhelmed, maybe even scared. But who was she talking to? What were they saying? And could that person know more than they've shared? Sydney Fife has never stopped searching. She knows her daughter. She knows Heidi wouldn't just run off and stay silent this long, not without something being terribly wrong. In interviews, Sydney recalled that Heidi had seemed perfectly fine earlier that day. No red flags, no warning signs. When she stopped Heidi from driving off, she thought she'd prevented a tragedy. But watching her daughter flee, barefoot, into the freezing night, left her powerless. She says Heidi didn't even look back. Police haven't ruled out that Heidi may still be alive. Some believe she could be in hiding, maybe with someone, or in a vulnerable state, unable to reach out, but without any messages, no social media activity, no trace. The possibilities only grow more uncertain. At the time of her disappearance, Heidi was living with her family in the Mill Pond Manor subdivision. She had goals, dreams. She'd never shown signs of wanting to disappear. Her case has captured attention across Georgia. Missing person flyers, community alerts, social media campaigns, all dedicated to one hope: bringing Heidi home. Authorities are urging the public, if you know anything about Heidi Kane's whereabouts, no matter how small, please come forward. Contact Detective Lindsay Fogler with the Fayetteville Police Department at 770-719-4284 or reach out to Crime Stoppers of Greater Atlanta. You can remain anonymous. Because while the world has moved forward, one family remains frozen in time. A mother still waits by the phone. A home sits quiet, without her daughter's voice. And somewhere out there, a 16-year-old girl named Heidi Kane might still be waiting to be found. Let's keep Heidi's story alive. Let's bring her home. Tammy Pitkin was 54 years old when she disappeared. A mother, an animal lover, a long-time resident of Red Bluff, California. And nearly a year later, her disappearance remains one of the most puzzling unsolved cases in the Pacific Northwest. Tammy had been through a lot. She'd worked as a realtor for years, but around the time she vanished, she was no longer employed. It's still unclear whether she left her job by choice, or if something else had happened. She had also recently gone through a painful divorce. After 20 years of marriage, it ended in August of 2023. And according to legal documents, if Tammy remained missing, her share of the couple's assets would go to her son. That's part of what makes her disappearance so painful. Tammy missed some of the most important moments in her family's life: her son's wedding, the birth of a grandchild. And yet, no one's seen her since October 2022. The last confirmed sighting of Tammy was on October 14th. That day, she told her son she was heading out on a short trip, just for a few days. But over the next 2 days, her movements became strange. She bought a prepaid phone card in Red Bluff, withdrew $1,000 from a bank account her family didn't even know she had. She bought fast food in Weed, California, gas in Glendale, Oregon, a prepaid Visa card in Sutherland, and stopped at another convenience store in Glendale. By October 16th and 17th, Tammy had traveled hundreds of miles. She even reserved a room at a Best Western in Sutherland, using her ex-husband's credit card, though she paid for the stay in cash. Then, early on the 17th, she bought gas again and was spotted on security footage in Albany, Oregon. She was walking with her dogs, alone. That was the last time she was ever seen. Tammy wasn't reported missing until October 26th, and to this day, it's not known who actually filed that report. Then, just a few days later, on October 29th, a hunter made a chilling discovery. Tammy's grey Toyota Camry was found abandoned on a remote forest road about 30 miles east of Sweet Home, Oregon. It had likely been sitting there since October 17th, untouched, buried in snowfall and harsh weather. Inside the car was almost everything: her purse, ID passport, birth certificate, medications, toiletries, dog leashes, clothes, a worn-out firearm, even moving boxes filled with shoes. But Tammy, gone. So was one of her 2 dogs. Cope. Her phone, the prepaid burner, and an extra car key fob were also missing. Despite intensive searches with law enforcement and K9 units, there was no sign of her. Then, in February 2023, months after she vanished, a glimmer of hope appeared. Trooper, one of her dogs, was found alive, running along Highway 20, not far from where the car had been discovered. Miraculously, Trooper was in good health, even after surviving a brutal Oregon winter. But Tammy and Cope were still nowhere to be found. Even more questions emerged. Tammy's ex-husband had remarried. He also sold her car shortly after she disappeared. And when Trooper was found, neither he nor Tammy's son claimed the dog. Instead, an Oregon couple took Trooper in and gave him a new home. Tammy's half-sister, Iraka Laughlin, keeps in touch with that family. Despite a strained relationship in recent years, Iraka has become one of the most vocal advocates for finding answers. She remembers Tammy as a remarkable woman, someone who may have been struggling, yes, but also someone with deep compassion, especially for animals. Tammy was known to support local rescues, and she loved her dogs dearly. So why would she just disappear? Why leave behind everything, even her beloved pets? To this day, the case remains wide open. No signs of foul play, but no clear evidence of what truly happened either. DNA results from items in the vehicle are still pending, and authorities say there's still no definitive lead. As months stretch into years, Tammy's story stands as a haunting reminder that a person can vanish completely, leaving behind memories, questions, and a loyal dog who somehow, against all odds, found his way back to people willing to care. If you have any information, no matter how small, please contact the Lynn County Sheriff's Office, because someone out there knows something, and it's time for Tammy's story to have an ending. Santra Sarju, a 22-year-old woman from Edinburgh, has been missing for nearly 2 months, and her family is growing increasingly worried. Despite multiple appeals from the police, no one has been able to determine her whereabouts. Investigators have released a CCTV image of Santra, hoping someone might recognize her and provide useful information. She was last seen on December 6, 2024, in the South Gyle area of Edinburgh. Later that evening, she was spotted in the Burnvale area of Livingston around 8:30 p.m. This sighting was followed by a confirmed appearance at an Asda store in Almondvale, Livingston, sometime between 9:10 p.m. and 9:45 p.m. That was the last time anyone saw her. Since then, there's been no contact, which is extremely out of character. Further investigation revealed that, before arriving at the supermarket, Santra had travelled to a house in Burnvale, where she had picked up 2 bags, one black and one white shopping bag. However, when she was later seen on CCTV inside Asda, she no longer had them. Authorities have not disclosed whether they know what was inside the bags or who gave them to her. The fact that she was later seen without them raises questions about whether she left them somewhere for later retrieval or handed them over to someone else. Santra's family is desperate for answers. They have described her as someone who always stays in touch with loved ones, making her sudden disappearance deeply concerning. They fear she may have been harmed and are pleading with the public for any information that could help find her. In case Santra herself sees their messages, they have urged her to reach out in any way, just to let them know she is safe. On Friday, December 27th, 2024, at approximately 11:55 a.m., Police Scotland was alerted to the discovery of a body in the water near Newbridge. Formal identification has yet to take place. However, the family of 22-year-old Santra Sarju has been informed, police stated. At this time, her death is not believed to be suspicious. Authorities confirmed that a report would be submitted to the Procurator Fiscal, Scotland's legal body responsible for prosecutions, and death investigations. Santra was last seen on CCTV at an Asda supermarket in Almond Vale, Livingston, on the evening of December 6th. Following her disappearance, police issued an urgent missing person appeal, describing her as approximately 5 feet 6 inches tall, of Indian ethnicity, with a slim build and short black hair. Inspector Alison Laurie from Corstorphine Police Station shared further details, stating, "We now know that Santra picked up a black and white shopper-style bag from an address in Burnvale on Friday evening, but she no longer had it when she entered the supermarket. This bag is quite distinctive, and someone may recall seeing her carrying it. We continue to analyze CCTV footage and have released images from the supermarket in hopes that someone recognizes her." Santra's disappearance was described by friends and family as highly out of character. Deeply concerned for her well-being, they had grown increasingly worried in the days following her sudden vanishing. The last time she was seen, she was wearing a grey jacket with a fur-lined hood. Her family also noted that she often wears a black face mask and grey earmuffs in cold weather. In the CCTV footage, she had her mask on, though it is unclear whether she was also wearing the earmuffs, as her hood was up. Anyone who has seen Santra or has any information about her movements on December 6th is asked to contact Police Scotland by calling 101 and quoting incident number 3390. 46-year-old Sarah West, who lives in Scrabo, England, has been missing for more than 3 years, and investigators are no closer to solving her case, despite CCTV footage being found of her on the day before she vanished. The last time Sarah was seen was at about 7:30 a.m. on the 25th of April, 2021. She was seen walking along the A156, which is situated close to Con Bay. It has been suggested that she then walked along the Cleveland Way path. This has raised some concerns since the path is close to a set of cliffs. However, no evidence has been found that she was in this area, and that theory remains speculative. At the time, investigators asked that any motorists who were travelling in the area that day contact them in case they had even the smallest bit of information that could help locate Sarah. However, only a few witnesses came forward, and no further helpful information was received. They also asked people to check their dash cams and CCTV cameras in case they caught footage of Sarah before she went missing. A CCV image was released, showing Sarah wearing the same clothes she had on when she disappeared, in hopes that it would jog someone's memory, but to no avail. Search efforts were immediately put in place, with the searches being most heavily concentrated on the coastline as well as the Cleveland Way footpath, but nothing was found. When search efforts failed, her family made a plea for people in the area to keep an eye out for her and to contact the authorities if they spotted her. They also spoke to Sarah during the plea, asking her to come home and reminding her that they loved her, no matter what had happened. They added that they were concerned about her health and desperately wanted her to come home so that they could support her. They also mentioned that they would help her find the treatment that she needed, though it is not clear what this was about. Investigators have launched fresh appeals every year since Sarah went missing, but have received no new leads, and her fate remains unknown. However, investigators have assured her family that the case remains open and is still being actively investigated. Anyone who has any information on Sarah's whereabouts is urged to dial 101, or if you have an immediate sighting, call emergency services at 999. Kajira Fraser's disappearance remains a heartbreaking mystery, leaving her family searching for answers. In February 2023, the 23-year-old from Southern California eagerly prepared to welcome her baby boy. With just over a month left until her due date, she was surrounded by the love and support of her family who were ready to help her raise her child in their Moreno Valley home. As the youngest of 3 siblings, Kajira shared a close bond with her family and was excited about becoming a mother, even though the pregnancy initially came as a surprise. On February 23, 2023, Kajira and her mother, Kara, planned a relaxing day together, focusing on easing the physical discomforts of pregnancy and running a few errands to prepare for the baby's arrival. Their day included a visit to the gym for a spa treatment, followed by shopping for baby essentials. Later that evening, Kajira asked to visit her maternal grandmother's house, and her parents agreed. On the way, they stopped at a Jack in the Box restaurant on Beaumont Avenue to grab a quick meal. As they waited in the drive-through line, Kajira sat quietly. Then, in an unexpected and puzzling moment, she suddenly opened the car door, clutching her Bible, and stepped out. She told her parents she needed fresh air, then walked toward the front of the restaurant's drive-through area. Concerned, her parents quickly completed their order and drove around to look for her, but she was gone. They searched the parking lot, checked inside the restaurant, and called out for her, but there was no sign of their daughter. At 10:39 p.m., realizing the gravity of the situation, they called the police to report her missing. Kajira left behind her purse and possibly her phone, taking only her Bible. Her mother later explained that Kajira's phone had already been misplaced before she disappeared. However, a strange inconsistency later surfaced. An advocate for the case, Sarah Werner, pointed out that the missing persons flyer included a photo of Kajira taken on the night she vanished. The image had been taken with her phone, raising questions about how it was obtained. The investigation into Kajira's disappearance faced significant setbacks due to delays in accessing surveillance footage. By the time authorities attempted to review security recordings from Jack in the Box and nearby businesses, nearly a month had passed, and the footage had already been erased. The only available video came from a local high school security cameras, which showed Kajira walking south across the parking lot, away from the restaurant. She was last seen wearing grey sweatpants, a black hooded sweatshirt, a black shawl, and black slip-on shoes. The search for Kajira was extensive. Investigators scoured the area on foot and deployed helicopters, drones, planes, and search dogs to cover as much ground as possible. They reached out to hospitals, hoping she might have been admitted to give birth, and contacted shelters and mental health facilities across Riverside County, San Bernardino County, and even Nevada. However, despite their exhaustive efforts, no leads have emerged, and her whereabouts remain unknown. Her family has speculated about what may have led to her sudden departure that night. Her mother believes Kajira may have been experiencing a mental health crisis, making her vulnerable. She remains hopeful that her daughter and grandchild are alive, possibly being cared for by someone unaware that she is missing. Authorities, however, have stated that there is no concrete evidence to suggest foul play, or that Kajira was taken against her will. Still, many questions remain unanswered. What triggered her sudden decision to leave the car? Why was the surveillance footage not reviewed sooner, potentially erasing crucial clues? More than a year has passed since Kajira Fraze disappeared into the night, and her family continues their search for answers. Despite the lack of new developments, they hold on to hope that someone, somewhere, knows what happened and will come forward with information. Until then, the mystery of Kajira Fraze's disappearance remains unresolved.